The time has finally come to swap the huge 20-cylinder engine into the minivan truck project thing. Now, of course, we can't actually swap this engine into the van, but we are going to use that crane back there to drop it in the back of the van and try to drive it up to the truck scale. That's the goal, is to make it up to the truck scale to see how much this engine weighs, but I'm honestly not sure if that's going to happen or not. If you haven't seen the previous videos where I've shown this engine or the van, I'm going to show you really quickly those up close, and then we'll get started. So this huge 20-cylinder engine came into the yard a few weeks ago, and it was actually used to burn waste methane gas and turn it into electricity. Now, as you can see, it is partially disassembled. Pretty much all of the cylinder heads have been removed and all of the pistons, connecting rods, etc. But this thing is still going to be extremely heavy. Earlier when I moved the engine out, I was looking at these two tags, and it says that it is 1466 kW, and I typed that into Google, and that translates to about 1975 horsepower or something around that. And this engine is a 61.1 liter engine, so this thing is absolutely massive and probably extremely heavy. And the minivan project we have done some testing with previously. We have filled the entire back of this thing up with cast iron brake drums and rotors, and I think this thing was actually able to haul about 7,700 or 7,800 pounds up to the truck scale previously. So if the engine weighs about that or less, I think it'll do it, but man, I think that it might be a little bit more than that, but we're about to find out. The engine on this van does knock, so it wouldn't surprise me if we don't make it anywhere and it throws a rod or does something else catastrophic, but it's going to be interesting. Now, I'm not sure how I'm going to be able to lay the engine in there. I'm going to try to just sort of lay it over and put it in long ways and let it stick out the back some, but if that doesn't work, I may end up sort of laying it across the back right over the rear axle. But anyways, let's jump in the crane and make it happen. Well, at first glance, I think that's a little bit heavier than the cast iron was previously, because the van is basically crumpled in half and it is sitting on the ground. I'm still going to fire it up and see if it'll move, but I'm definitely not optimistic. When I had the engine in the air with the crane, I really could not see a feasible way to lay it in there any other way than just setting it on top. So I went with that option, but I don't know if that was our best option. After second thought, I think I am going to try to pick it up and set it in there a little bit differently. It's kind of teetering between the two walls, and I don't want to get it moving and then something shift and it either roll forward or roll backwards. Then we might have bigger problems. So we're not even going to go down that road. We're just going to reposition it again, and then we'll try again. Well, that doesn't look much better. Doesn't make me feel any more optimistic that it's going to move, but it definitely makes me feel better about actually sitting in there and trying to move it. So let's see what happens. Well, we got our answer. The van truck was not able to move the massive engine, so we'll have to find some other experiment and figure out what that engine weighs. So I guess since this thing's on the verge of blowing up anyways, we might as well neutral drop it a few times, and maybe I'll pick that engine up further in the air with the crane and let it go and smash the cab. Well, I think that's all she wrote for the van. She turned herself off. Well, I'd say she got a little hot from constantly bouncing off the rev limiter and neutral dropping it, but we finally got one to have a catastrophic failure. I don't know if you can see it, but where that steam or smoke is coming from on the bottom side of the engine, there is a hole in the block. Well, we've had a lot of fun with this van, but I think we ought to send it off the right way, and that's by dropping the engine on the entire thing. Well guys, that's pretty much it for today. This was a pretty fun one, so definitely let me know what you think we should engine swap next, and I'll try to find something cool and make it happen. I do think that I need to start using that huge engine in the mix with the huge steel plate whenever we crush stuff, because that thing is extremely heavy. When I was just moving it to the back over there, kind of where I want to set it to save it, I could feel the crane rocking forward, and that's a pretty big machine. So for it to pull the machine forward like that, it's got to be extremely heavy. But anyways, thank you guys for watching. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button, and we'll see you on the next one. I'm not sure if this thing has cooled down enough yet or not for you guys to be able to see that hole in the block, but she definitely let loose.